All right, and now we shift into LinkedIn. All right, everyone can see this wonderful LinkedIn image, correct?
Yep.
Cool. Hey, Vincent, can you tell me, did I have this when we were working together?
No, I don't think so. This doesn't
Yeah,
look familiar.
this doesn't look familiar. And what about
Yeah.
you, Samantha? Does this look familiar to you?
I don't have LinkedIn. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
But no.
Okay, that's cool. No problem. Okay, thank you both. I was just curious because this had like come into my like career resources a little bit later. Okay, so let's talk about LinkedIn. The entire purpose of LinkedIn, the entire purpose of resumes, cover letters, portfolios, and LinkedIn profiles is to get someone to want to talk to you about your work, either in an official interview sense or in a more casual hire me for a freelance gig sense, okay? The beautiful part about the LinkedIn profile is that it allows you to tell your career story. It reads more like a cover letter and not at all like a resume. In storytelling, you're going to be talking about how every experience has prepared you for the next experience, how you are on top of all things related to industry, and most importantly, again, reiterating that you are this thing, this job goal. And I'd like to take a really quick side detour to talk about this concept of the word industry. So all of you are in photography or are interested in photography, yet there are different flavors of this photography ice cream, right? Some of you are interested in the architecture flavor. Some of you are interested in the fine art flavor. Some of you are interested in product flavor, right? When I work with clients, I invite them to start by thinking about what are the things I do for fun? What are the things that I love? What are the things that I have passion for? And thus, how do those translate into an industry? Because the things we love, have passion for, and do for fun are things we have insight on. And thus, the industry should be illuminated from that experience, right? And I invite you to think of industry as product or service provided. So from where I sit, there's no such thing as a tech industry. Technology is a tool or a platform to facilitate a product or service provided. Uber is not a tech company. Uber is a transportation or on-demand company. Does that discernment and delineation make sense to everybody? The reason why this is important is that this is going to help you understand who are my targets with my LinkedIn profile, my portfolio. Okay, so again, they could be companies, they could be individuals, they could be galleries, right? Starting here with the things you love, things you do for fun, will help guide you to understanding, okay, what should my subject matter be when I take photographs? And the reason why this is important is, especially for the job seekers in the studio audience, you're going to have to tell a story one day about why you want to work at this company. Why is this product or service connected to you? So one thing I found really powerful about Yolanda's story was that it's a teddy bear that her father gave her when she was 2 years old, right? She has a personal connection to this subject. And that's really powerful, right? So again, the purpose of a LinkedIn is to tell your career story, which is ultimately how every experience you have acquired has prepared you for the next experience, how you are on top of all things related to this industry. And remember, not only photography, but also what flavor in photography are you really on top of? So the product or service provided, that you are this thing, this job goal, right? And from a logistical perspective, it is chock full of keywords. And a keyword is usually found in job descriptions. So this is mostly relevant for the job seekers in the room. Keywords are things like hardware, software, and interpersonal skills found in job descriptions. So if you print out 5 to 10 job descriptions, you take one highlighter and highlight all the hardware. So those are the physical things, the cameras, the lighting, whatever, right? Then you take another highlighter and you highlight all the software. So Lightroom, Photoshop, Capture One, Phase One, whatever, right? And then you circle all the interpersonal skills, or maybe you get a third colored highlighter. Once you have highlighted all these words in these job descriptions, you start looking to see patterns. So for example, if we see Photoshop in 10 times in 10 job descriptions, you know Photoshop better be all over your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn profile, and you better be talking about Photoshop when you interview with people. These are the words that people want to hear, and more importantly, these are the words that recruiters or people who are looking for talent are typing into the search bar of LinkedIn. So the more flush with keywords your LinkedIn profile is, the more searchable you become, amongst other things. Okay? So this is the general context around LinkedIn. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay, wonderful. So now let's shift to a more operations and logistical part of LinkedIn. This is really easy to find on any website, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but the intention here is to plant some seeds around how to build a strong profile. Number one, you want to have a customized URL, because when you create a LinkedIn profile, the URL that you receive is like Arya Zarenkelk, your first and last name, and a bunch of random numbers. So customize it. So for example, right now, my LinkedIn profile URL is linkedin.com/in/career Sherpa. Just so it's easier to remember, right? Because I would assume the words career Sherpa are easier to remember than Arya Zarenkelk, right? Next, you have an opportunity to insert a banner photo. So I invite you to utilize your photography skills and your Photoshop skills to create a banner photo that represents you at work. So it could be your workstation, it could be a photo of you holding a camera, it could be anything you like, just something that represents and manifests you in this world of photography. Next, a photo, an individual photo that you feel good about. And just as a quick seed to plant, a lot of people are willing to pay a lot of money for headshots just for a LinkedIn profile. So keep that in mind, right? Everyone wants to have a nice, high quality headshot, and a lot of people have disposable income to do so. So you have to remember your skills, although are applicable for fine art, they're also in need for the market too. So don't forget. Ultimately, you don't need a headshot from where I sit. What I invite clients to consider is a photo you feel good about. For those of you who've taken photographs of other human beings, you know it's all about them just feeling good and capturing that moment of joy and bliss, right? So there are some things that I do invite clients to consider, no selfies with you in the car with your headphones in, right? That doesn't look super professional. And obviously y'all are the subject matter experts as far as lighting and background and things like that, right? So, but what I've seen is like solid backgrounds, you know, nice lighting, natural lighting, but whatever works, and ultimately making sure that you feel good about your photo. If you're doing it for someone else, you want to make sure that they feel good about their photo, right? Then we come to the headline. So the headline is usually what's right under the photo. And I've observed that people just immediately input what they are. So I've seen a lot of clients put student at City College of San Francisco, right? Or barista, Starbucks, right? Whatever. I actually invite you to think of what either you are, because even though you haven't been paid to do it, or you haven't necessarily showcased your work in that arena, but something that you are. Just because no one has said that you're that doesn't mean you're not that, right? All of you have done a great deal of work at City College to become photographers. So I would love to see photographer in your job title. A lot of you also photo editors, photo retouchers. Again, you're trying to communicate that you are this thing, this job goal, right? So Vince, uh, fine artist photographer, fine art photographer, that's what I would love to see for you, okay? Next are the industries. And industries, again, are thinking about the buckets, your subject matter, right? So Vince, for you, you could either put fine art photographer, or you could put photographer, and then fine art would be another industry, right? There's many ways to play it. These would be things like architecture, product photography, food, portraits, people, whatever you want these industries to be. Because again, not only are you communicating that you are this thing, your job goal, but you are on top of all things related to this industry. And also keep in mind that these are keywords. People are going to type in jobs, skills, industries, and you want to be found. You want to be searchable. Lastly, in the headline, I invite clients to put something unique and interesting about them that they wouldn't be able to necessarily know from a resume or a cover letter. So in this example, I have a photographer client who works in the entertainment industry that's also a marathon runner. My profile reads career Sherpa, workforce development, talent development, musician. I've had clients put botanist. I've had clients put some of the other ones that I've seen. Amateur chef. I've seen meditation, just things that are unique and special about you. Because this is an opportunity to tell more about your career and who you are than in a cover letter or in a resume. So leverage it. Then next to the headline is going to be an opportunity for contact information. So this is where you're going to include the best email to contact you, and then your portfolio URL, so your website. You don't necessarily need to put anything else beyond that, because those are going to be the ways people are going to get in touch with you, in addition to messaging you on LinkedIn. So these are kind of the first major milestones in the LinkedIn profile. Does anybody have any questions about URL, banner photo, personal photo, headlines, and contact information? Pretty straightforward, okay. Then we come to the career summary. So one thing I want to say about written content in the LinkedIn profile is to remember this rule that white space or negative space is king. And white space is basically making sure there isn't a bunch of text all jammed up in one paragraph, that there's spaces. So if you ever see an email from me, it's like, I'll write like, good morning, Dan, you know, and then a space, a whole line space, thank you for your email, a whole line space, maybe one or two sentences, a whole nother line space. And the idea is to trick Dan into reading my email. Because when Dan sees everything like clumped together in a paragraph, Dan's going to be like, oh man, I don't want to read this ginormous litany of words here from Aria, right? You're trying to make it attractive to the eye. So white space is really important.
I do that even with texts because I think, oh my God, they're not going to read this text from me if it's a big chunk. Yeah.
Wow. I might have to start doing that too. I just like break them up into separate texts.
Yeah, or at least paragraphs.
Something,
Yeah.
Right? So when we come to the career summary, this is an opportunity for you to tell your story, to frame the LinkedIn profile. Everything in the LinkedIn profile is written in first person. So I, my story, I am. And this is really refreshing because what I find is challenging about writing resumes is that resume, you have to write everything in third person with no pronoun, right? So saying he designed, developed, and implemented, in the resume it says design, develop, and implemented. In a LinkedIn profile, you would say, I design, develop, and implement. So first person. Remember that when people come to your profile, the first thing they see are the first two lines, right? So you need to write something really engaging and exciting there that makes people want to read the rest of your career summary. This is the hook, right? What I find is always really powerful is giving context to why you do what you do. So if you come and work with me, one of the first things we work on is answering this question, tell me about yourself, right? And the components to this are your name, what you are, which is your job goal, the tools you use, and then we shift into the past. And we talk a little bit about how you got started on this path of doing this creative work, your origin story. Every superhero has an origin story, and you as creative superheroes have an origin story too. So for me, all my jobs have been under the umbrella of social justice and helping others help themselves. So my first two lines are something to the effect of, being born to refugee parents has, made me want to build a career in helping others help themselves. And that's like the first two lines. And then you're like, oh, intriguing. Let me click see more and see what this person has to say, right? So in the career summary, you're talking a little bit about who you are, what you do, how you do it, so tools, so keywords, and then explaining a little bit about why you do what you do. What's your origin story? What's your driving source? And I want to tell you right now, the most cliche thing to say is, I am so passionate about blank. This is a show, not tell moment. Show us that you're passionate about this thing, right? By telling us a story, right? When a client comes to me and really gets really in depth about their past and how they got put on this path, I know that they're passionate about photography. Versus if someone comes to tell me I'm passionate about photography, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not impressed. Storytelling, 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 storytelling. And then lastly, the last component is making sure that you have a call to action in your career summary, right? So that's something like, message me to help make your next project a success. Or, I am always open to talking to people. Let's connect. Just something that is an invitation for someone to connect with you, okay? And then I also invite clients to reinsert their website URL under the career summary section, just for good measure, so again, people can see it. because sometimes people won't necessarily click on the contact info button. And also when you insert the website, sometimes, or there is a way, I believe, for it to showcase projects already vis-a-vis your web page. So like, it's like a preview for your web page, right? Does anybody have any questions about career summary?
Yes.
Please, Henry.
What do you on the I would say like the career story? Do you need like a write your own story in any length?
That's a great question. I always find shorter is better than longer. And you want to make sure that it's succinct, yet has details and is interesting and engaging. Sometimes pithy or short can be mistaken as I'm not interested, I don't care. It can also be misunderstood for cold. So try to find a balance between maybe like 2 or 3 sentence paragraphs, something like that. No more than that. I'd say that's the max. Okay?
All right. I got it.
Helpful?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. What other questions about career summary can I answer? All right, wonderful. So now we shift over into work experience. And the work experience sections are usually what creates the most mischief for people. Because like a resume and like a cover letter, people are like, I don't know what to put in these buckets. What am I supposed to do? So what I have observed is effective. And again, this is my invitation. You may talk with another career person and they might tell you something different. But what I find is interesting, they are these 4 facets of the work experience section. Responsibilities. So what did you do? Opinion and analysis. So this is, what did I learn? What did I have fun doing? What was challenging? What skill did I acquire from this experience? And then impact. So what were the results of my work? And then if you have an opportunity to insert media and projects, insert them, because there's a space on LinkedIn to do that. And it's very self-explanatory on how to do that once you get to the site. So what's powerful about this is you get to share with people what you've done, how it shaped you, what you took from it, and then what do people get if they bring you into their community, their tribe, or their project, right? And then you get to see, they get to see, excuse me, examples of this work. Now remember, white space is important, and it's all written in first person. And at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong. Remember, it is my intention that you feel proud of all of your job search assets. So when you feel good and proud about your LinkedIn profile, that's when you know it's done. Because we could sit and tinker, we could sit and rewrite, we could sit and edit all day long. But ultimately, when you feel proud with what the profile looks like, that's when you know it's done. And I will show you an example of this when we look at my profile, okay? Does anybody have any questions about these major buckets for work experience? Okay, wonderful. So we understand the context around what LinkedIn is for. We have built a strong profile using keywords, and making sure that all these sections are filled to a place where we feel proud. Now, the next step is making sure that we are active and visible on the site. The reason why we want to be active and visible is so that we can be searchable. So when someone goes to the search bar and types in photographer, or someone types in headshots, or someone types in Photoshop, our LinkedIn profile will come to the top of their search. This will happen if and when you have more than 500 connections and you are being active on the site. So those of you who are connected to me on LinkedIn see this. I'm constantly liking things, sharing things, commenting on people's posts, as well as messaging people. This will help improve my SEO when someone types in career counselor, workforce development, talent development, even musician, right? They'll even come up when they type in nonprofits or social justice. That's the rule of the website. The more moves you make on the website, the more searchable you become for the bots. Also, as another reminder, are the keywords here. The keywords make you searchable. So don't forget about those two. The last piece, the last very final touch on a LinkedIn profile is getting recommendations. What a recommendation does, from my perspective, is ultimately prove that, okay, if Judy is talking all this talk in this profile, right, this career summary, these job titles, this work experience, if she has a recommendation from Aria who's received Judy's services, that proves that she can walk the walk. So I invite all my clients to get recommendations from previous current employers, previous current colleagues from work, previous and current project partners from school, individual previous and current clients, instructors. If you've worked with me, I will write you a recommendation on LinkedIn. And the way we reach out to make a request, this is how I invite clients to do it. You write an email and you say, "Good morning, Aria. Would you be willing to write me a recommendation on LinkedIn?" And then it's a URL to how to do that on the website. So you just make it really easy. Then it's another URL on how to, like an article somewhere from either Muse or Medium or one of the many websites that we have, on how to write an effective recommendation. So people have context and some examples. Then in the body of this email, you would write something like, "I would really love it if you could focus on some of these areas." And then you'd be very specific about what you want the person who's writing your recommendation to cover. So I invite you to look at your keyword analysis, look at some of the interpersonal skills that show up. And remember, interpersonal skills are ultimately the human being skills like flexible, good teamwork, on time, proactive, et cetera, right? And those might be some of the criterion you ask people to write recommendations about. And so that way you're making it as easy as possible for someone to write a recommendation for you on LinkedIn. And obviously, the more recommendations you have, the more powerful your profile becomes, and thus the potential for being connected for an opportunity increases. Does anybody have any questions about what it means to be active, be visible on LinkedIn, as well as, or about recommendations? All right. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've talked about LinkedIn at large? All right, cool. So now I personally have been talking all this talk. Now it's time for me to walk this walk, shall we? So can everyone see my LinkedIn profile?
Yes.
That's
Okay, wonderful. So let's walk through it. Customize URL, banner photo of me at work. This is when I got to host a nice little mini career panel at Airbnb. For those of you playing along at home, these three are wonderful City College alumni at Airbnb. This is also Samantha Hutton's bun, for those of you playing along at home. Hi, exactly, she was there. Appreciate her very much. This is also General Sam Patton's wonderful hair, and that's Craig Lee, for those of you who may know them, because I know we all are a small tribe and community. This is a photo that I feel good about. I had the wonderful Jung like Jungle Fitzpatrick do another headshot for me, because I ended up winning a raffle to do so. So hopefully that'll get updated soon once she's done working her magic with that.
she spoke to our class, Jung.
Exactly.
They've seen her. They've met her.
Yeah, she's
Actually getting photographed by her in a couple weeks.
What was that, Vincent?
I'm actually getting photographed by her in a couple weeks. I got
Yeah,
hired
man.
for one of her jobs.
Yeah,
Cool.
it would be really great.
Yeah.
Please, 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 please connect with Jung. She is so helpful, so knowledgeable, and has worked all the different flavors of photography. She's wonderful. I can't invite you enough for that. So this is me looking at my profile from my own login. You want to edit your URL, it's right here. You want to add a profile in another language, it's right here, okay? You want to edit this section, you're looking for the pencil, okay? The pencil is what you're going to click on to edit. Next, we have the headlines. So this is what I am. These are the industries that I work in, and something unique about me that you wouldn't necessarily know. One other kind of like personal preference in the formatting are using these like rods or these pipings instead of commas or spaces. I just think it looks cleaner. You can use whatever you like, but if that is of interest to you, that button is located above the enter button. So you would hold shift and then the button above enter on my keyboard. So that's just another invitation. Next, scrolling down, the about section. Being born to refugee parents and feeling extremely blessed to have so much has pushed me to be an advocate for the voiceless. So you can see something engaging, something interesting that makes you want to see more. Now, take a look at, first of all, the white space in how I've written this, right? Doesn't look too overwhelming. So then I talk a little bit more about my philosophy and mindset, talk a little bit about my name, what my game is. I talk a little bit about the untapped communities that I specialize with, and then a call to action. Please reach out to me if I can be any help to you and your organization. I'm always open for conversations, and I love connecting with others, right? This is an example of a career summary that I feel good about. Yeah, maybe I'll change it one day, but right now I feel good about it. I feel like it encapsulates me. So then, as we scroll down, so one thing I forgot to mention, contact info. So this is my profile, URL profile. This is my band's website, you know, because you've got to always be hustling. Email address. I'm eventually going to have my own personal career shenanigans practice. This is where I would put the URL here too. And then also I would put it again here in the about section. Okay, so you can kind of get some analytics to see like, okay, I've had 223 people view my profile. I've appeared in 67 searches, and that's like probably for the past week. Okay, it's usually weekly analytics. And then this is an example of activity, right? So something that I find is really helpful is like I just leave the LinkedIn tab open, and what I do is I'll post something in the morning, so usually an article, and then I'll usually post some sort of like motivational shenanigans in the afternoon, right? So these are examples of some of the things that I've done. I shared this article. This is another photography student's post that I shared. I liked and shared. Someone in my network posted a job, so I liked and shared it. Misha from the BEMA department, gave me some like kudos on LinkedIn, so I like commented on it, right? So again, the idea is that I'm being active on the site in order for the number of people who find me in search to increase, okay? And now let's come to experience sections, right? So again, take note of the white space. So the language is about the same. Serving as a career Sherpa for BEMA, cinema, fashion, photography, VMD, I connect and coach over 100 students annually to help them climb up the mountain that is their career. So what I do, this includes job opportunities, internship, blah, 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 blah. How I do it. I love being able to help my fellow creatives succeed. Every day, they teach me something new, opinion and analysis. To date, my clients have acquired over 300 jobs, internships, and higher education expenses. Impact. And then I take an opportunity to highlight a project that I'm really proud of, which is this concept of like Workforce Wednesdays. And for those of you who may have attended a Workforce Wednesday, it's either like a workshop that I do, very similar to what I'm doing right now, or like a career panel. And then there are links that then will take you to, you want to see some of me in action, you can see examples. So this is like careers in sound, careers in BEMA, careers in cinema, careers in VMD, careers in fashion. And I promise that we're getting a careers in photography one edited, so that should be up there soon, okay? I'm not ignoring photography on purpose. We've done 2. The first one I couldn't get shot and edited. The second one we did get shot and edited, and it's in process, right?
Great.
Another example is like the little like trailer that some wonderful BEMA students made about me. So you can learn a little bit about me. Hopefully there won't be an ad. We'll see.
Hello, you wonderful wonderfuls. My name is Arya Zarenko,
So you come here and you learn more about me and my services, et cetera, et cetera. It sets to some of my band's music. Again, just examples to prove that I'm walking the walk, okay? And then I do this for all of my work experiences. And I don't need to go through all of them. You can take the time to look. I also make sure that I have my volunteer experience in here too, and it's written the same way as the work experience. So responsibilities, opinion and analysis, impact. And then lastly, I come to recommendations. And this is like such a wonderful resource for me whenever I'm like feeling burnt out or tired, because I come to someone like Paige and I read this from her. And so Paige was a fashion client of mine, and you get to read this thing, and it's like, it can be hard to come across someone as positive and helpful in a community college setting as Aria. I was lucky enough to stumble upon blah, blah, blah. Nice things, nice things, nice things, right? I have 48 of these things. So again, I'm talking a whole bunch of talk above, and these recommendations below really help me walk the walk. Okay? So photography 130, that is all I got for LinkedIn. Does anybody have any remaining questions about anything I talked about? All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time and your presence. I know that trying to do a lot of these shenanigans over technology can be physically exhausting and very mentally distracting, so I really appreciate your presence.